Yo guys, I've got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for another Skylanders discussion video here on the channel. Before we get started, the title does not lie because today I'm talking about my stories behind how I got each Skylanders game. So let me know in the comment section below how you got each Skylanders game. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. This topic seems pretty fashionable at the moment and could generate a great discussion as the 10th anniversary of the franchise is nearing. Trust me, time will fly by and it will be here before we know it. So with all that being said and done, let's roll the intro and finally go in depth about these stories of mine without further ado. Spyro's Adventure is an iconic story for anyone like myself who was first introduced into this incredible franchise for its very first game and who have stuck with the franchise ever since. I have told this story time and time again, but it's so near and dear to my heart, full with such nostalgia that it is absolutely worth sharing once more. In the run-up to Christmas of 2011, there was one thing I wanted more than anything else for Christmas that year. This was for Spyro's Adventure Starter Pack. What me and my sister would do, rather than a traditional Christmas list, is we'd instead take an Argos catalogue, cut out the photos of the toys and games we wanted, and then stick those photos onto a sheet of paper for our Christmas list. Of course, merely sticking Spyro's Adventure onto the sheet of paper wasn't enough. I wanted this so badly over anything else. I drew circles around the picture. I put arrows pointing towards it. I wrote about how much I wanted it. Needless to say, you can imagine my disappointment when Christmas Day rolls around and I didn't get the starter pack for Spyro's Adventure. Luckily though, my grandparents showed up only a few hours later. They arrived with a very specifically shaped present for me. I ravaged for wrapping from excitement as I unveiled none other than the Spyro's Adventure Starter Pack for the Nintendo Wii. That Christmas, I played the game for a few hours downstairs because at the time that was the only room in the house where a Wii could be found. I barely made it through the first 4 levels with only the starter pack characters, being young and even worse at video games than I am now, of course, so Trigger Happy wound up barely clutching out the stormy stronghold. Regardless of all that, a few days later my uncle had bought for me the Dark Light Crypt, and I had bought for myself Boomer using leftover Christmas money I got from relatives. My dad started playing the game with me in co-op, and Ghost Roaster quickly became his favourite Skylander. Together, me and him beat almost the entire game until we reached the final Chaos boss fight. A final boss fight, notoriously difficult. Me and my dad could not beat it with only our 5 current Skylanders. It didn't help that in the Wii version, Chaos healed himself halfway through the fight.
I don't understand it! Don't you know who I am? Haven't you heard that it's a bad idea to mess with Chaos? All I need is my High Dragon to defeat you, fool. That and my super strong, ultra-destructible, powerful mechanical suit, that is!
We would have bought more, but at the time, Skylanders were notoriously hard to find, since over the Christmas period, demand far outweighed the stock, especially since hoarders snagged up a lot of the figurines, so they fetched ridiculous prices on eBay. Soon enough though, stock became available once again, and so I managed to pick up a Dino-Rang, as well as a triple pack featuring a Ruptor, Chop Chop and Bash. Well, more specifically, my mum managed to pick them up since she went shopping one day at Argos whilst I was at school. But as she walked out of the store, she was approached by someone who offered her double for what she paid for the Skylanders. So in other words, she was offering offering my mum £60 rather than the £30 in which she paid for them, but my mum refused, knowing that I really wanted those figures. Very cool of her. Anyways, now that we had 9 characters rather than just the 5 that we had beforehand, me and my dad was finally able to defeat Chaos, and soon after the Wii was put into my room instead, so I could play Skylanders freely up there and not be disturbed by people wanting to watch TV downstairs. And I also got Sonic Boom and Stealth Elf, meaning I finally had at least one Skylander of each and every element to complete the game to 100% with. Skylanders Giants was revealed in February 2012, which was back before I had even beaten Spyro's Adventure, since I didn't get those 4 extra figurines I was talking to you guys earlier about until March time. The game looked awesome and I got incredibly hyped for it, so much so that rather than wait until Christmas to get it, my parents and I made a deal so that I would get it for my birthday instead. After all, the game came out only a few weeks after my birthday and I didn't mind waiting. They got me the booster pack to save money, which didn't matter much to me since I already had a Series 1 Cinder and knew I didn't really need another. I also knew Jetpack was getting a light core that I could have easily acquired another time. I remember the build up and the hype I had for the game, but that didn't nearly measure up to the recollection I have of the launch day here in the UK. The game was finally released on a Friday, meaning I was at school, so in the meantime my mum went to pick it up for me. When I got home I totally missed the package on the table and went straight to my room to finish a puzzle orb I got for Christmas 2011. My dad suddenly burst into my room and started teasing me about how I ignored the Giants booster pack and how he was going to return it to the store. After I finally snagged the booster pack from him, I booted up the game and immediately chose hard difficulty. My dad was watching and called me out for going straight to the hardest most difficulty. Remember, Nightmare mode isn't unlocked until after you beat the game. So, filled it with immediate regret, I restarted the game and chose easy difficulty instead. Bone Chompies didn't stand a chance to my level 1 upgrade 3 T-Rex anymore! Needless to say, I blazed through the game on easy mode with T-Rex and had a blast doing it. Moving on to Swap Force, I remember pre-ordering the game. At Tesco there was a pre-order bonus. Here in the UK, Lightcore Hex was slated to release the same day as Skylanders Swap Force, so as an incentive to pre-order, Tesco gave you a free Lightcore Hex and an awesome Swap Force poster if you pre-ordered the game. I remember showing up to Tesco day 1 of Skylanders Swap Force, seeing the shelves just stocked with those Swap Force characters, and then speaking to one of the cashiers about how well Skylanders Swap Force was selling that day. After all, it was only the first day and they were already selling dozens upon dozens of these characters in these starter packs. Whilst we were having a discussion about it, his colleague spent well over an hour searching for the pre-order bonus pack in the store's storage units, since they didn't have those readily available for some reason. I applaud that staff member's dedication. Anyways, I got the game and immediately began playing it once I got home. I noticed immediately how long and repetitive the levels were. I'm also immediately noticing how much I've said immediately this paragraph. But regardless, due to how long and repetitive these levels got, I often wound up quitting through the game halfway through a level due to sheer and utter boredom, and taking twice as long to beat it as I did the first 2 games, but I still enjoyed using the 3 starter pack characters as well as the Lightcore Hex I got for free as a pre-order bonus. And needless to say, I still enjoyed it. I just had to quit out the game halfway through sessions, and they were much shorter sessions than that from Giants and Spyro's Adventure, because again, they got a little boring with the long and repetitive levels, but I think I've said this enough already. Swap Force, still a great game, not going to say so otherwise. Trap Team, on the other hand, when it came to the release around that game, was a lot more interesting. In the chain of gaming stores known simply as Game here in the UK, they were doing a special promotion. You got rewarded every time you bought a certain number of Skylanders. It was like their loyalty program, but tailored to Skylanders instead, as you got things like free traps for purchases, or even a free quick draw rattle shake after 15 purchases. That's actually how I got this specific quick draw rattle shake right here, as a free reward from buying so many figurines as part of the Skylanders game loyalty rewards program, and man, now I'm saying that out loud, that is quite the mouthful. Anyways, to get onto the program and start accumulating your points, you needed a base purchase of £100 on Skylanders products. For my birthday that year, that's how much spending money I got from friends and family. But to get onto the program, I also needed an adult over the age of 18, so I left the store without the game so me and my parents could return the next day to start on this Skylanders loyalty program. It meant I had to hold out an extra day before finally being able to both buy and play the game, but I coped just fine with that. The next day I finally got the game and enough extra figures to spend that £100 requirement, but the starter pack this time round was for the PlayStation 3 rather than the Wii. A blessing in disguise really, since Trap Team on the Wii is notoriously terrible. However, it would have been better than attempting to play the game on my PS3 at the time, if you could have even called it that. My dad, before Trap Team came out, got a sketchy looking PlayStation 3 from eBay and spent my money on it because we made a deal to where if I could save up my money rather than spending it on Skylanders all the time, then my dad would use it to get a new PlayStation 3. But regardless, he forgot when buying it from eBay to actually read the description where it disclosed that the console was faulty, so we didn't get our money back, and what would happen is that the console would randomly power off midway through playing a game. After turning the console back on, this would mean I'd have to start the particular level all over again. I managed to painfully make my way through the entire game before the PlayStation 3 became faulty beyond repair, so I had that going for me at least. But this meant I no longer had any way of playing Trap Team anymore until Christmas of 2014, where I got a Wii U. And on the Wii U eShop, Trap Team was a free game to download, so after 30 hours of waiting for the software to download, mind you, I was able to play the entire game through my Wii U and use the portal I got from my PlayStation 3 starter pack to load in all of my Skylanders. That was when Trap Team became my favourite game of all time, as I started to play it religiously on my Wii U. To this day, it's easily the game I have beaten for most times. We're talking at least triple digits here. In fact, after it had downloaded on my Wii U for the first time, I beat the entire game in a single sitting because I was so excited. Speaking about being excited, Superchargers rolled around and it spoiled my birthday present for me. You see, one day I went to Game to pre-order the Dark Edition of Superchargers on Wii U, but my local game had exceeded its threshold for copies of the Wii U Dark Edition that could be pre-ordered, so instead my mum pre-ordered for me the Dark Edition on the Xbox 360. This confused me because at the time I didn't own an Xbox 360. Turns out that was my birthday present from my cousin, which was spoiled for me because I really wanted to pre-order a Dark Edition of the game, and the only consoles I owned at the time were the Wii and the Wii U. Superchargers released in late September, but since I got the Xbox 360 for my birthday on October 2nd, I had to wait until then to actually play the game. Once again, I ran into technical issues when beating the game, nothing console related, thank God. Instead, my controller ran out of battery and I didn't have a charging kit for it. Luckily, the next day I headed into town after school and bought one from my local CEX so I could charge up my controller and play the game again. And that's the story of how my pre-order for the Skylanders Superchargers Dark Edition Starter Pack spoiled my Xbox 360 for me. Finally, we have Imaginators. Now, just like the game itself, the story behind me actually getting it isn't anything special, at least not in comparison to the games. Once again, I got the Dark Edition Starter Pack for the Wii U this time around. I picked it up on day one, once again after school. I got home and unboxed it with such excitement. I bought the Dark Edition Starter Pack alongside 3 other senseis, those being Tri-Tip, Ambush and Ember. I also got Chaos as a free pre-order bonus, and then I just simply played the game and beat it over the weekend. It was short and I had nothing delaying my journey, unlike faulty consoles, long levels and controllers running out of charge, which made it longer for me to complete Trap Team, Swap Force and Superchargers respectively. Even at the time, I knew it wasn't. I knew I wasn't as fond of Imaginators even as I was of the other games, but creating my own Imaginators and upgrading them with new gear as I went along was so damn cool, and easily the best thing about that game even today. There is no denying how great the creation system in Imaginators is. Credit where credit is due. Anyways, what I find funny is that whilst I did get to both buy and play Giants and Swap Force at launch, for 2 games after Swap Force, Track Team and Superchargers, I was unable to play or buy them on the launch day window, mind you. And then finally we got to Imaginators, where I was able to both buy and play the game at launch. So technically speaking, Superchargers was my first Skylanders game since Swap Force that I was actually able to have a successful day 1 launch with, mind you. And now with all that being said and done, this here video is coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed it, and until the next one arises, peace!